Dear Danny, I started this letter to you shortly after you went missing. I wanted you to know how hard your family, friends, and so many others have been working to secure your release. I wanted to tell you that everything was going to be okay, even though I knew it might not be. I can only imagine how much you knew that.
So as Todd was grieving Danny's murder, Todd was compelled to explore how to prevent this act of hate and violence that took Danny's life. And so on October 10th, 2005, and what would have been Danny Pearl's 41st birthday, a dozen or so musicians from as far as 1,000 miles away, some of them who Danny knew, and some of them who Danny didn't, they all gathered together, about 40 or so of them, all gathering in Todd's backyard to celebrate Danny's life. In this glorified song swap, jam session, and concert. And Todd lovingly dubbed this event FOD Fest, or Friends of Danny Festival. And it was modeled on how Danny lived his life, traveling the world, connecting with people, and connecting people together through the universal language of music. And it was through that Music in Common was born.
We're living in a world so separated, living in the legacy of being segregated, desecrated. We gotta find a way to stop and get to the mountaintop. So we have to find a way to come together. So listen to the music, to the bass and the treble, so we can get to another level and come together and find a way to cultivate peace and love forever.
Someday I know we'll again find a way to lay our defenses to the ground and work together for a brand new day where these walls will forever be brought down. But I was feeling like there needed to be something more than just FOD Fest. Not in place of it, but in addition to it. Something a little bit deeper and more immersive than just a 2-hour concert. And as an organization, we turned our attention to youth and started working with young people, seeing them as the future leaders of the world. We developed a program called JAMS, which is an acronym for Journalism as Music, Multimedia, and Songwriting. And in a nutshell, what happens in a JAM program is youth will come together, they will select a theme based on a conversation that we lead them in. From that theme, they write a song together as a group, they record it, they make a music video, and they perform it for their community. Live, I days before a concluding concert in Hobbit's Olive Grove, there were two things I learned very quickly about life in the region. One, there was a lot I didn't know and still don't. Two, things are not always as they appear and are rarely black and white.
Look, I got the secret recipe to live a life of mentality. Pieces away, gotta think about a strategy. Pieces what I eat, faith is what I drink. I practice what I think, and I think before I speak. I'm confident as home. My friends are motivation. Share a lot of little ways to the top. These are together we can do this kind of stuff. My vision, focus on the mission. Sing along with us.
My life was changed when I was 13 years old, and I met a woman named Helen Freeman. Helen Freeman was a Holocaust survivor. She survived the Auschwitz concentration camp when she was 19 years old. I had the privilege of meeting her when she was 90 years old, in a program that brought teens to meet, hear, and carry on the stories of Holocaust survivors through film. And as Ms. Freeman told me her story and shared with me the number that was tattooed on her wrist by the Nazis, she looked into my eyes and said, "You teens must carry the torch and make sure nothing like the Holocaust ever happens again." And that changed my life. My grandchild, by the time you read this letter, I hope that you are living in a world much better than the one that I write from. We have a lot of problems. I don't know if in my lifetime we will resolve them, but that's why I wrote this letter to you, because you are the entity that gives me energy to keep defending this world and these truths we hold as self-evident, even when we're told we're irrelevant. Because every day we see pain and we hear cries, and some still turn a blind eye. I despise and deplore how much we ignore. It's like we're in a room full of elephants. But I'm telling this story because I want you to understand how this world once was before we took a stand, before we made our demands. Do not take for granted what we did to make this world a better planet.
Dehumanize, with those human eyes, stereotypes, wrong with you and I, but if you clearly see my humanity, the truth is we are a family. I cannot wear a hoodie when it's cool, being Muslim, they give fearful stares, bringing backpacks to school. We're seen as a threat and treated as a target, but no time is taken to know who we really are. Yeah, yes, we are different, but we're mostly the same though. Our diversity unites us just like a rainbow. Love, respect, unity can cure this curse. That's why this place is called the universe. I love singing that song because I wrote that song. I co-wrote that song. That was a song that I had the privilege of writing when I was introduced to Music in Common and participated in my first Jams program. It was a program that brought Jewish, Christian, and Muslim teens together on the 15th anniversary of 9/11. What was powerful about that Jams program is all of us teens realized the commonalities and shared humanity we shared as teenagers, as music lovers, across our faiths, but most significantly, the common experience we all shared being stereotyped or dehumanized based on our backgrounds.
The law, and thus reaffirms the conception of equality for all men that began with Lincoln and the Civil War 100 years ago.
I can't breathe! I can't breathe! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives Matter! Black Lives
I was seeing images of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery being killed on the news, on my Instagram feed. At this time when I'm grieving, Todd comes up to me and another fellow.
I started obsessing on all these Bob Dylan songs that were written in the early 60s during the civil rights movement. And I just kept thinking about who is this white guy from rural Minnesota writing these songs for, like who is the intended audience.
So with that, we ended up conceptualizing a project where we could revisit so many of these songs in the past and heal the divides between communities through the universal language of music. The way the Black LP operates is we would travel to a specific community and select a key theme centered around race relations in the United States. Community members and musicians alike engage in a roundtable discussion where they can explore the history of these songs, analyze the lyrics, explore how they have direct ties to the local communities that they're from.
The hope is that it provides a platform for civic engagement and conversation, hard conversations around things that are tough to talk about.
And I also know the pain of stripping my own child of his innocence because I have to explain to him why he isn't allotted the same experiences in life because he may not come home to me.
Mia's bravery in talking to basically complete strangers about something that's like super personal was inspiring enough to kind of get the music driving in my brain and my heart. So that's kind of where it came from.
I'm always aiming to have an impact on people with my music, and I hope it does afford a wide palette of people to just take pause and think about how they're conducting their lives and how they may be impeding the lives of others.
Pete and my grandfather, Woody, they really believed if they sang together, they were going to change the world. And Pete never stopped believing that. He actually showed me that it works.
But we have so much more in common, so much more that we believe in together than we do that differ between us. And somehow we have just lost the way. And my hope is that we can find our way back. And Music in Common is getting ready to launch a new project called United Songs of America, or USA. Which is really aimed at addressing these political divides, these culture wars, and helping us find our center, and I don't mean our political center, but find our commonality and our common bonds, the things that make us connected and the things that make this place great.
There's one song in our Black Legacy Project which is called What Can One Man Do? And it's about what are the things that everyday people can do in our families, in our workplaces, in our communities, to help build bridges and help cultivate that world of belonging that we would be proud to pass on to the next generation. And so my question to y'all, and feel free to shout out your answer, is what is one thing that you can do to help cultivate that world that you want to pass on?